Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. Many men couldn't handle the shadow world. And, comes back to, with my private group, I do, some private hangouts. It's not for the general public, and I'll do the hangouts with the group and invited guests, and recently did something this past Friday with several young ladies, cousin T-Tall, C Boogie, and C Douglas, right? And he had mentioned something. It was a deep conversation. It was a grown folks conversation. Grown folks conversation. That's what I deal with. As an aside, that's why I don't really do hangouts on YouTube or public, because you got a lot of people can't handle a grown folks conversation, which means we're definitely talking about sex. But cousin T-Tall, who's definitely at a high level, he had said something. He said, just a little bit, seeing a little bit of the shadow world will blow a lot of dudes' minds. It really would. Because a lot of people think the shadow world is just maybe, just like sex parties and stuff like that, which honestly, and see, Boogie had pointed this out in a video before, that's just the surface of the shadow world. It's deeper than that, because the shadow world is simply really where you see a woman's true sexual nature. True sexual nature. Even deeper than what people think of as red pill and everything. You see their true face. You don't see their mask. You don't see their presentations. You see who they really are. And it's not good or bad. It just is. It's just a part of the nature. But the reality is many men couldn't handle that. Many men couldn't handle that, because the sad thing is many men are focused on the surface world. Are focused on the illusion. They focus on the illusion that, this woman, a big one is that women don't want to have sex as much as men. Because I remember I did a podcast on that recently, and, he still had some pushback, and I said, okay, they ain't been in the shadow world. They ain't been in the shadow world. So it's like, if you show many of these men who've never seen it, only seen the surface of things, who are definitely, if you want to use the term, non-select or beta or, very limited sexual experience. If they were to truly see what's going on, it will blow their minds. When I was first introduced to the shadow world in the early 90s, it took a while to adjust, even though I had seen some things before then. Not seen outskirts of it anyway, like since I was little. Seen outskirts of it, seen, stuff out the corner of your eye. You see some stuff, you're like, damn, why is that happening? Seeing like how, women will behave with one man and then another, And it's one thing to like say it from the outside. It's one thing, you might see a little bit. And even then, just because of, how your ego and, man's ego, his subconscious, and just what he experiences, have kind of taught him. He don't really see it. Like he might even say, oh, there's something wrong there, because the woman's doing something totally different from what he think is the norm. So, but the only way to really see it, it's kind of like, it's funny, people talk about like red pill and blue pill and all of this stuff. But if you remember the movie that it came from originally, The Matrix, what did Morpheus tell Neo? He said, I can't really tell you about the Matrix. I have to show you. So a lot of guys, if you actually put them in that world, give them the means to the world, they actually experience it, they might not be able to handle it. It will blow their minds, even just a little bit of it, And this ain't necessarily like, saying a man is lesser or anything like that. It's just the reality, how, growing up, think about how we're raised. Think about culture. Culture basically is cultivating. What type of behavior is cultivated? What most men are told when they are coming up. It was like, oh, women are sugar and spice and everything nice. Oh, women, they're not into a man's looks. Oh, women, they're not into sex as much as a man. A man has to work to get a woman to get interested in sex. All you have to do is be a good provider, good protector. Once you go up there, you get that nice paying job. Maybe go whatever the religious temple is. You do all the good stuff. You stay out of trouble. You'll get that woman. Meanwhile, you might see a glimpse of the shadow world when, you happen to be in the right place at the right time and you see some woman who look like she's like, prim and proper, hanging out with some dude who look like a bum. Or that's part of how that whole Pookie and Ray Ray thing get up. You just happen to be at the right place at the right time or something. Or maybe saw her driving out that poor neighborhood or something, right? That might look like the type of woman who, you got to have a big house and nice car for a nice job, be law-abiding and everything. But one way or the other, you see her coming from that neighborhood, and then if you, I don't know, for whatever reason, might know somebody or something like that, knowing she just got with a dude who's sleeping on an air mattress in a poor neighborhood. Or you might come home one day, you actually married to the woman, and I know I got to do it. You come in and all of a sudden you get this dude who's a total opposite of you, like pounding the hell out of her, and then he turns around, looks at you and says, "My bad." So, it's hard. And then if a man somehow gets introduced to it, like, and, the only real interest into it is to really evoke lust in a woman, a primal lust. The primary guys in the shadow world, they might be an exception here and there, but the primary guys in the deeper part of the shadow world, sometimes the deeper part where you're going to see a woman's sexual nature, that's based on his primal physical presentation. So, basically the body game turns on a woman because it turns on in a man's physicality turns a woman on in a primal way. So you might get some guy who for whatever reason starts really working on his body, get that aesthetic, and then also can develop his attitude towards sex just enough. And then a woman checking him out and everything, and it's like, hey, you might get some surprises or something like that, And they get shown it, and they really see it, and it's like, oh wow, because once you introduce somebody to something that goes against their belief system, what they were raised to believe, it's hard. Like, you can actually kill somebody if you show that their belief system is incorrect. You can actually kill somebody. You can actually cause pain in somebody. So when you get many of these men who or introduced just to a little bit, they can't handle it. I mean, even when I talk about it, I can guarantee somebody's going to hear what I'm saying and have issues with it because they've never seen it. So if you even see just a little bit of it, it can fuck some heads up. And I've seen it. I've actually encountered a few guys who would be considered like nice guys, good guys. They saw a little bit of that shadow world, just a little bit. They ain't even experienced it for just a little bit, and it was fucking with their heads. And that's just a reality. And some people will try to say don't deal with it and all that, but the reality there is always there because it's all around you. It's not a specific location. You never know when you walking past a woman and she's involved with it or at least knows about it, And it could be that woman look totally innocent, then casually look at you and say, "Yeah, this is what I'm into," And it's like nothing about her suggested, zero tat, look very like pleasant, So it's something. It really is something, And, a good thing is if we could figure out a way to really show men that world, so they can understand, give them a way to experience it. Because it's the reality, because it does affect, some people think it's just like right there, but the reality is it affects everything. It's still affecting behavior in like the surface world. and that's why it has to be seen. What happens behind closed doors eventually affects what's happening in front of closed doors. So anyway, that's all I got for that one. You know how I do. I throw stuff out there to make y'all think. So anyway, I'll talk to y'all. Peace.